Hi, welcome to Muzzle First. Today on the table we have a brand new Smith Wesson M&P45 Shield. This was just introduced by Smith Wesson this year, and I was pretty excited when I first seen it come out, when I first seen it announced, for a couple reasons. I really like the 45 ACP, and a single stack 45 is becoming a pretty hot market. The single stack 9 market is really competitive right now, but there's really only been a couple key players in the single stack 45 market. Now we have another one, the Smith & Wesson. So when Smith & Wesson brought this on the market, they went head to head with, I guess, kind of the big dog of the single stack 45 market, and that's the Springfield XDS. So for about 2 years now, I have been carrying this. This is a Springfield XDS 3.3. It's one of the original ones. This one has been back to Springfield for the recall, and I actually bought it from a friend of mine. He did not want to keep it after the recall, which is fine with me. I was okay with Springfield taking it back and fixing it, and so I got a pretty good buy on it, and I was pretty happy with that. I've carried this for 2 years, and I like this gun. I have nothing against this gun, but there's a couple things about this Smith & Wesson that I really like. So let's compare these things side by side and see if I can explain to you what I like about this and why I'm thinking about switching to it. Alright, and I have had it to the range already, so I've already shot this, and we'll look at some video of that in a minute here. But first off, let's go over some specifications for this, some external specifications. So the capacity on these, the default capacity on these with the flush magazine. On the Springfield's 5, the Smith & Wesson holds 6. I'm not really lighting those up very good there, am I? The barrel length on both of them is 3.3 inches, but the overall length is 6.45 inches for the Smith & Wesson. The Springfield is only 6.3 inches, so it's just a tad bit shorter. So that length's not in the barrel, that length's actually in the slide and in the frame. So it's probably not, I mean, the extra length in the Smith & Wesson is not going to give you much as far as accuracy. It's just a little extra on the length. But really, it's not that much. It really isn't. It really is not that much. And the Springfield makes it look worse because the Springfield is more rounded. You can see the edges on the Springfield. Everything on the Springfield is contoured on the edges. There's no real sharp edges. The Smith & Wesson gives you a nice squared off edge here by the muzzle. So kind of it's a little bit fooling on the length there, but really it's 6.45 inches for the Smith, 6.3 inches long, and that's from the far back of the gun up to the muzzle. So that's really not that, that's comparable. That's very comparable. On the width on these guns, both manufacturers measure the grip. They don't measure the controls. The grip on the Springfield, 0.9 inches. The Smith & Wesson, 0.99 inches. So once again, very comparable statistics here. Height. Both manufacturers measure the height from the bottom of the magazine to the top of the slide. The Springfield, 4.4 inches. Very compact package. I still really like that Springfield. 4.4 inches. Smith & Wesson's 4.88 inches. But the reason Smith & Wesson's is 4.88 inches, and let's line them up here. The way I'm going to line these up, I'm going to line it up to where the web of your hand right here would fit on the slide. All right, I'm not going to line it up with the top of the slide because that's not really a fair comparison either. As you can see, the Springfield is actually taller. The slide itself is a little taller. And the bottom of the grip is just a little bit taller. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of showing that or not. But the reason it's taller is that Smith & Wesson holds 1 extra round. So where the Springfield only holds 5 rounds in the flush magazine, Springfield holds 6, or the Smith & Wesson holds 6. That's a huge advantage. Here's one more. The Springfield, 21.5 ounces. That's empty with a flush magazine. The Smith & Wesson, 20.5 ounces. So it's a full 1 ounce lighter. Okay, that's 2 wins. That's 2 wins for the Smith & Wesson right there. that extra round in the magazine, that's huge. That actually was what really excited me about that. And once I got to see them side by side, I was hooked. So very comparable in size, very comparable. Smith & Wesson is a little bit larger. So the question is that size enough to make you choose a Springfield? I don't know. If I had to buy these side by side, it'd be a lot harder decision for me. I already have the Springfield, so I don't have to compare them in the store. I know what I have with Springfield, I know what it does, and the new one to me was the Smith & Wesson. So let's compare them side by side for the, let's compare what you would get from the store, alright? So if you were walking the store and compare these side by side, you'd have to compare more than just the size of the gun. You got to compare what you get with them, alright? So with the Smith & Wesson, you pretty much get the gun, you get the flush fit magazine, you get an extended round magazine, which is 7 rounds, so you get one extra round in it. Comes in a little plastic bag. You get the instructions manual, you get a lock, and cardboard box, and that's it. That's all you get. Price wise, they're very comparable right now. When the Springfield was new, it was about $5.50 new, something like that. I didn't pay that for it. I don't know for sure what my friend paid for it, but I'm not sure he paid new price for it. He paid the full price for it, but he bought it brand new, so he might have. With the XDS, you get a lot more. You get a nice plastic case. It's a pretty sturdy case, a little bit of flex to it, but it does a good job of holding everything inside there. Of course, watch it all slide out right as I say that. So inside the Springfield case, of course, you get the instructions manual. You get 2 magazines. You get the flush fit and you get the extended magazine. You get a lock, which I've never used. You get an extra back strap, which I also have never used. You get a holster for the magazines, for holding 2 magazines. Alright, I'm not sure if those came with it or if my buddy actually got those separately, but regardless. Alright, and you also get a holster for the gun. So that's a pretty good advantage for the Springfield right there. So for presentation, I mean, out of the box presentation, I gotta hand that to Springfield. Hands down, Springfield's got that over the Smith & Wesson all day long. When you open that box, what comes in that box and what you get with that box, Springfield's got the bonus there. They got all the goodies in the box. A lot more than Smith & Wesson gives you. Is that enough? Is that enough to choose it on, to pick it on? Not for me. It might be for someone. If you were buying these and you didn't want to have to buy a holster for it, or you didn't have the money for a holster, XDS comes with it. All right. You don't have to. You wouldn't have to buy a holster with it. The XDS comes with it. Smith & Wesson does not. You got to buy all that extra. So let's compare them with the magazines. So the extended magazine, of course, on the Smith & Wesson, comes the default magazine. The flush fit magazine is 6 rounds. The extended is 7. On the XDS, the extended magazine is 7 rounds. So there's no real advantage right there. The Smith & Wesson doesn't have advantage right there. And when you put these magazines in them, I'll just show you. When you put the extended magazines in them, they are very close to the same length. I don't know for sure if there is any difference in them. So with 7 rounds in them, as squared up as I can get it, that's about what we're looking at. The Springfield, I don't know. If the Springfield is any taller at all, it is, I mean, 1/100 of an inch. I mean, we're looking at very minute difference right there with the extended magazine. Of course, I don't carry it with the extended magazine. So with them being so close, you might wonder, why would I possibly choose the Smith & Wesson over the Springfield? My preferred method of carry for these is pocket carry. So if I'm going to buy another 45, it's going to be something in this size. It has to be the same size as my Springfield. My Springfield is about as large of a pistol as I can carry in my pocket comfortably all the time. I don't like carrying in cargo shorts. The lower pockets, they swing around too much. So this is the holster I use. And I'll just show you with my Springfield. This is the holster I use with my Springfield for pocket carry. I've used this holster for over a year. I've got good use out of it. It works good, it's comfortable, and it does a decent job of concealment in the pocket. So you can see there is a rubberized material on the back, and it does a halfway decent job of masquerading the shape, so you don't see so much what it is. Smith & Wesson fits in the same magazine, or fits in the same holster. And it actually might even fit just a little bit better as far as the end of the muzzle. You see the muzzle is flush right there. I can probably push it a little further, but it fits pretty good. It does not fit, it's a pretty good fit. So that's a bonus right there. I can use the same holster. Every once in a while, I'd like to use this little Galco holster, and I'll carry it out of waistband. Same deal. It fits. So I'll be able to use the same holsters that I use with my Springfield with the Smith & Wesson. That's a win. So if you didn't already have these holsters, that would have to be something you have to buy. But I don't have to. I won't have to buy new holsters for this. So that's huge. That's a good reason for me to switch. That takes away some of the pain in switching firearms and switching concealed carries. I don't have to have a new holster made. I don't have to go shopping for a new holster. I already got one, and it works just fine for it. So the size are basically the same. I'm not really concerned about all the goodies that come with it. If you were buying this new in a store, you have to consider what comes with it from the factory. The Springfield gives you a lot of goodies. To have the holster and a magazine carrier, all that with the firearm, that's huge if you don't already have that stuff. For me, it's not a big deal because I already have it, and I'm not going to use what would come with it anyway. I prefer leather holsters. So that is why I started looking at the Smith & Wesson. Once I saw the size comparison, and I didn't try it in my holsters in the store, I just kind of, I wanted to see it at that point. I wanted to hold it and feel it. There's a couple of big differences between these guns. I shouldn't say they're huge differences. If you look at the stiffling on the grip here, just by looks, you would say that Springfield has the better stiffling. It's a lot deeper. You can see the cuts in that. That's a pretty deep stiffling right there. The texture on that. It's a really deep texture. But it honestly doesn't. It's still a little bit slippery. That's a pretty deep texture, but there's not a whole lot of. It doesn't do that great of a job of actually grabbing onto your skin. The Smith & Wesson with the 45, they changed the stiffling on their grips here. It's more of a sandpaper, and that's really what it feels like. It actually feels like skateboard tape. That's what it feels like in your hand. And I can tell you after shooting this, it does not move. The Smith & Wesson, this M&P, this 45, is very easy to hang on to. It's very easy to keep in your hand. It does not slip around on you. So I find it easier to hold on to than a Springfield. That's a bonus. What else can we look at? The magazine release on these, I actually prefer the Springfield magazine release. So let's see if I can do this around the camera. I'm holding it. Maybe it's because I've done it more. The Springfield is very easy for me to eject. You can see where I grab it. I pretty much, with Springfield, I can't get my pinky finger on there at all. So my pinky finger is just kind of hanging in limbo anyway. So when I hit the magazine release, it just pops out. With the Smith & Wesson, a little different. There's just enough of a grip there that your pinky finger gets about a half a grip on it. So when you hit the magazine release, you really have to move your hand to get it to pop free. It does pop free, but you have to move your hand to do that. That's a training issue. That is me. That's not the gun. The magazine release is also a little harder to hit. If you look at the Springfield here, if you rub your finger down from where your thumb would normally sit, you can feel that magazine release. There's a nice sharp edge right there, and it just compress, and it's right there. Smith & Wesson, you can feel it, but there's a bump there. There's like a little guard protecting it that's built into the grip. So you have to kind of move your thumb a little more forward and compress a little more. Once again, that's a training issue. I just need more time with the gun. There is a little disadvantage here for some people. The Springfield comes complete with a Picatinny compatible rail, so you could put a light or laser on the front if you want. The Smith & Wesson does not. Not a big deal for me. Might be a deal breaker for some people. Some people require a light on their carry gun. I don't. Not a big deal for me. I've never put a light on this one, not even to experiment and see what it would be like. I don't care to have a light on it. I'm going to carry it in my pocket, and I don't want to put a light on it and have that extra bulk in my pocket. Let's take a look at the takedown procedure for these guns. Once again, we'll start with here. I'll tell you what, let's clean the table off here a little bit here. Got more room. Let's start with the one I'm used to. Alright, this is the one I've done the most. Let's drop these magazines. I will show you that it's clear. There's nothing in it. Alright, first thing you have to do, clear the gun. Always clear the gun first. Lock the slide back. Got to rotate that takedown lever. Ease that slide forward. You got to pull the trigger and just slide it apart. Alright? And that's the Springfield right there. Alright? Smith & Wesson. Same deal. Let's clear it. I will say, stiffling up the front here, the serrations here on the front, give you a little more grip here also. Easier to hold on to. Show you that it's clear, nothing in it. Alright, first thing we got to do, lock it back, just like the Springfield. Got to rotate the takedown lever. Pay special attention to that. Let it slide forward, pull the trigger, apart it comes. Alright, let's take a look at this side by side, and I'll show you each of the pieces here, right next to each other, so we can take a look at it. First thing I want to point out, there's a pretty big difference here. When you're field stripping these guns for cleaning, I'll concentrate just on cleaning. When I clean this the Springfield, I have to take the takedown lever and rotate it down, clean the slide rails, lubricate the slide rails, and turn it back up. Smith & Wesson, I don't have to do that. These takedown lever rotates down, so it's out of the way. It's not in the way of cleaning the gun or lubricating the gun. That's just one step that you save. Is it a big deal? Absolutely not. Not a big deal at all. But it is one step that you don't have to do. Would it stop me from buying the Springfield? Absolutely not. Just for comparison's sake, let's take a look at the insides of the frame. Very similar. There's nothing groundbreaking really in either one of them. They both are very similar designs, and they both work very well. I will say that. They both work very well. Let's take a look at the slides. Alright, so we got Springfield, Smith & Wesson on the left. Alright. Very similar design. Things are a little moved around on the Smith & Wesson compared to the Springfield, but there's nothing on either one of these that you don't see on the other one. They're very similar design. You look at your extractor, if I can get a good view in there or not. It might not be coming through on the video, but your loaded chamber indicator, Springfield utilizes the little pop-up right here. Very tactile. You can feel it. You know when it's loaded without looking at it. Smith & Wesson does not. They give you a little hole here where you can actually peek through and you can actually see the brass shining through. Both systems work. I'm not going to tell you that one is better than the other. Personal preference. I actually like the tactile feel to it, but it's not enough for me to say the Springfield is not worth getting, or the Smith & Wesson is not worth getting. Both work. Let's compare the barrels side by side here. I don't know if we can get a look through them or not. Alright. One thing, the only real difference in the barrels, you'll notice that the lockup lugs on these, very similar. The feed ramp. The feed ramp on the Springfield is wider. don't know if you can see that. Will that aid with possibly make it easier for it to chamber the rounds? I don't know. Seems like it might. Seems like it might help. But I can tell you the Smith & Wesson works just fine. I did not have a single problem with the Smith & Wesson at all. And I have put 100 rounds through that, by the way. So it is not in an unfired condition. I have fired it and cleaned it. So alright, so guide rod and recoil springs. Once again, very similar design. Springfield utilizes a round spring. Smith & Wesson utilizes a flat spring. The Springfield definitely feels a little beefier, and it is stiffer, without doubt. Alright, so let's go ahead and reassemble these and put these back together real quick. And we'll do the Springfield. And we'll do the Smith & Wesson. One thing I can tell you, this barrel fit in with the Smith & Wesson, it does feel tighter. It's a little bit harder to get that barrel to drop down in there. That might loosen up a little bit after it's had a few hundred more rounds in it. I don't know, but alright, so gone back together. And one thing I want to look at, let's look at the first magazine that I put through both of these guns. So I took both of these to the range. I wanted to shoot them side by side. I've shot the Springfield many a times, but I wanted to shoot it right next to the Smith & Wesson. I wanted to shoot one gun, then I shot the other one. So let's take a look at some video real quick of the first magazine that I put through the Springfield and the first magazine through the Smith & Wesson. The Springfield will be at a target on the left, Smith & Wesson will be a target on the right. Alright, so here's my first magazine through each one of these firearms. On the left hand side here you can see where I'm shooting the Springfield XDS right now. This is my target for the XDS. I am only firing the 5-round magazine into this target, and as you can see, it's not too bad. It's pretty easy to control. The recoil on this is very easy to manage. So then we move over here to the Smith & Wesson. And Smith & Wesson also very easy to manage. It's very easy to hold on to while you're shooting it, and I found it very accurate. It's very easy to hit what you're aiming at with that gun if you do your part. The Smith & Wesson XDS, both of them are very accurate to do what they need to do. Alright, so then we'll take a picture here. This is my XDS with the first 2 magazines fired. So that's 12 rounds, and that's a Smith & Wesson after I fired 12 rounds. That's 2 magazines. Alright, so after those first 2 magazines, I went on to put a few more rounds through each of these. And let's take a look at my targets. I put 50 rounds through each of these. I put 50 rounds through the Springfield, and I put 50 rounds through the Smith & Wesson. This right here is 50 rounds through the Springfield XDS. Alright. Apparently I got a little too rough with my targets. I apparently ripped my targets on the way back from the range, but this right here is 50 rounds of Blazer Brass through the XDS. This is 50 rounds of Blazer Brass through the Smith & Wesson. These are not bullet holes, by the way. Like I said, I don't know how I managed to tear my targets, but I did. That's actually pretty good. I'll take that for first time ever shooting the gun. I'll definitely take that. So the other thing we want to look at is the trigger and the safeties. Alright, both of these guns have very different triggers. First off, let's take a look at the Springfield. Springfield utilizes a trigger safety. Alright, and they have, of course, the grip safety, no frame safeties. Alright, and you actually have an ambidextrous magazine release on these, which you do not on the Smith & Wesson, but I think you can actually switch it to the other side. Alright, so the trigger on the Springfield, when you pull it, it's stiff. You get a nice clean break. And to reset, right about there. So you're pretty much all the way out. The Smith & Wesson, kind of a sloppy trigger. There's a lot of just play right here. It's not really doing anything. And you can kind of hear it This kind of makes a noise. The brake on the trigger is not bad. It's a very light trigger. Actually, I do not have a trigger gauge, but it's definitely a lighter trigger than what's on the Springfield. No question at all about it. I like the trigger on this one better. I like the pull of the Springfield trigger. All right, the way this one pulls and the way that you get that clean brake on it, I like that one better. But the Smith & Wesson, it's got a pretty nice trigger. I cannot complain about that trigger really at all, other than the fact that it kind of annoys me, that little bit of play there at the beginning. Springfield doesn't really have that. But other than that, I like it. Of course, no grip safety on the Smith & Wesson, no frame safety either. So I will take it, and by the way, I will take a gun without a frame safety over the grip safety, without a grip safety, if I can get it. I don't mind the grip safety on a Springfield, but I would much rather have one without it. So all in all, M&P, very good buy. If you want one and you find one, that's going to be key. The store where I bought this one at, he told me he only gets one at a time. Was he pulling my leg? I don't know. I buy quite a bit of stuff there. This gun here just came in the day I bought it. They just got it when I found out they only had one, and he said the likelihood of it being there for 24 hours was not good. So I bought it. I left with it, and I'm kind of glad I did. The controls on it, easy to actuate. It feels good in your hand. It's easy to grip. That the way that they did the texture on here, I just can't get over that, because it does not look like it would be worth a crap. Honestly, it doesn't. But when you put it in your hand, it feels just like sandpaper. It feels like that skateboard tape. If you've ever used skateboard tape on a firearm or something, on a tool or anything that you needed to hold on to, that is exactly what it feels like. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these out. I'm going to carry this gun. I'm going to shoot it for a while longer. Before I actually put it in a holster and carry it, I'm going to shoot some concealed carry ammo through it. So I like I like the Spear Gold Dot ammo. That's what I intend to use through it. Don't have any I don't have enough of it to shoot through it right now. I need to buy 3 boxes. I need 2 boxes to shoot through it, and then 1 box to load the magazines with. The other thing I need for it are magazines. 2 magazines are plenty for carry. I'm not going to carry a bunch of magazines with me. I will carry an extra magazine, and this one will fit in the same pouch that I use for the Springfield. So nothing I should have to buy there, other than my pouch is getting a little old. But so I do need more magazines for the range. I don't like loading magazines at the range. When I go to the range, I kind of like to spend my time shooting and analyzing what I'm doing there, instead of actually loading magazines. Although sometimes it is nice to load the magazines, get a small break from things. But that's it. That's what I think about it. Thumbs up if you're looking to buy an M&P Shield 45 and you see one, and go for it. Very much worth the money. They're going for just a little bit over 400. I think this one was 420, somewhere in there, somewhere in that vicinity. Springfields right now they can be had for under 400. You can buy these for 370 to 400, somewhere in there if you buy them online. But then you've got FFL fees and stuff, so it's up to you. If you don't care about the holsters, if you take the holsters and all that out of the picture, and we're just comparing the gun and the magazine, right now I'm going to say the Smith & Wesson, the M&P45, over the Springfield. I might change my mind after I carry it for a while. I don't think I will, but I don't know. I might find that you know, a little bit of extra length on the muzzle and that little bit of extra length on the grip is just too much. I can't stand it in my pocket, but the little bit that I've tried it out in my pocket, I like it. Thumbs up. This is Muzzle First. There's a section below the video where you can leave your comments, suggestions, nothing hateful, please. If you want something hateful, please send it to me in a private message. You can message me through YouTube, or you can send me an email at muzzlefirst@gmail.com. Visit my website, www.muzzlefirst.com. Thank you, and you have a nice day.